I didn't originally have a bad relationship with Maggie, my mother-in-law, but since my pregnancy was discovered, it feels like the harassment started little by little. I think my husband hasn't noticed the harassment. My husband and I were college classmates. We were good friends in college, part of a close-knit group. After becoming adults, we reconnected at a reunion and started contacting each other again. We were already good friends, so we started dating quickly. We both wanted to get married, and without any major issues, we got married pretty fast. I always wanted children, and my husband said,
"If you want kids, then let's have them. I like kids and want them too anyway."
So we started trying to have a baby. Surprisingly, I got pregnant quickly, and we were very happy. After getting married, we both continued working, but my morning sickness was severe, requiring hospitalization, so I quit my job. I think Maggie's harassment started around that time. The severe morning sickness was bad enough to require hospitalization. Harassing a pregnant woman with severe morning sickness? Maybe she didn't like that I quit my job. At first, it was hard to tell if it was harassment or unintentional. Whenever Maggie came over, she'd bring things like raw seafood, coffee, or alcohol, things pregnant women should avoid. I would always decline, saying, "I have to avoid these while pregnant." She was persistent sometimes, but usually she'd give up. But gradually she'd start saying things like, "Gwen, you quit your job, so at least do the housework properly." Or around November, she'd say, "Gwen, you're at home all the time, so you must be bored. I brought flowers and cleaning supplies for the graves. Go clean them. I have plans now, so thanks." I ended up cleaning the graves alone. I should tell my husband to warn her, but she always comes when he's not home, so I can't ask for help at the moment. When I reported what Maggie said afterward, my husband gets angry and worried. When I told him about the grave cleaning, he said,
"What was she thinking? Making a pregnant woman clean graves? I'll tell her never to do that again. Gwen, you need to refuse."
And even after that, Maggie would suddenly come over, saying things like, "Pregnancy isn't an illness, so quitting your job is an overreaction," and asked me to drive her for shopping. Even if I said, "Sorry, I don't feel well today," she'd insist, "You quit your job and don't do housework, so you can rest anytime." She wouldn't back down at all. Even on shopping trips, she'd say, "You're home all the time, so you should move a bit," and make me carry heavy bags or park far away to make me walk a lot. She kept visiting, making snide comments, and asking for favors. My belly is getting quite big, and it's honestly exhausting. Doing normal housework while pregnant is hard enough, let alone taking care of someone else. Did my husband really warn her properly? Or is it that I'm too kind and Maggie is taking advantage? I do report to my husband every time Maggie visits and tell him how difficult it is. He says he'll talk to her, and I think he understands my feelings. But either his way of saying it is too gentle, or Maggie is just too pushy because nothing seems to change. With the due date approaching, my body is getting heavier and it's tough. I've told Maggie that I want her to stop, but since I've always had trouble being assertive, maybe she doesn't take me seriously. I'll talk to my husband again and ask him to help me. I'll also try to be more assertive. If this continues after the baby is born, I'll definitely explode. Hang in there. With a due date near, make sure you don't overdo it. After that, I talked to my husband again, and we both spoke to Maggie, but not much changed. In fact, she started visiting even more frequently. "Gwen, you're not going back to your parents' house, right? It's tough to take care of your first child alone. I'll help you when the baby is born." And she started leaving her stuff at our house every time she visited, even though neither my husband nor I had given permission. "It'll be easier if I leave my things here, so I can come anytime." She kept putting her belongings in the room we planned to use as the nursery. She even bought a bed for herself, saying, "The guest bed at your place is uncomfortable and hurts my back. I bought a bed, so please receive and assemble it today." My husband said he'd take some time off work when the baby was born, so he was getting busier, coming home late. I reported Maggie's actions to him every time, but since he was always tired from work, we couldn't have a proper discussion. Eventually, labor started, and although I contacted my husband, he was tied up at work. He said he'd come home as soon as possible, but he couldn't make it in time, so I took a taxi to the hospital alone. Labor started around 8 p.m., and the baby was born safely at night. My husband didn't make it to the birth, but he came to the hospital as soon as the baby was born. Due to COVID-19 measures, he could only visit once during my hospital stay, but he picked us up from the hospital when we were discharged. After discharge, the doctor advised us not to go out for a month, and even though it was an easy delivery, I was still physically drained. I wanted to spend my recovery period quietly at home, but as soon as I got home, Maggie visited.
I'm happy to see that you're doing well. I bought some seafood. Let's all eat together.
Why did she come over so suddenly again?
I thought it would be nice to eat fish together. You should have called sooner to let me know you were ready to have visitors.
When she brought it during my pregnancy, I got mad because mackerel isn't allowed. So this is her revenge?
I'll prepare it for you, so I'll use the kitchen.
After a while, Maggie started setting the fish on the table.
This is for you, Rudy, and this is for Gwen.
My husband and Maggie began eating the fish with delight, but I threw my portion into the trash.
What the hell are you doing? Mom went through the trouble of buying this fish.
But I can't eat this fish, so there's no other choice.
What do you mean you can't eat it? It's just regular fish. If you don't have an appetite, you can eat it later. Why throw it away?
Yes, Gwen. This fish cost $150 per person.
$150?
Hey, you need to apologize to Mom. Gwen, what's wrong with you? Have you lost your mind?
Actually, while Maggie was preparing the fish, the baby started fussing, so I went to get a diaper near the kitchen. I heard a voice from the kitchen and got curious, so I peeked in. I saw Maggie doing something to one of the fish. If you think this fish is edible, go ahead and eat my portion too.
But that fish was meant for you, and now it's in the trash, so no one can eat it. No matter how bad things were during your pregnancy, that's going too far. That's just cruel.
Can you say the same thing after looking at this fish? I didn't do anything wrong.
What's wrong with you, disrespecting food and claiming you did nothing wrong?
If you want to know who disrespected the food, ask your mom.
What do you mean by that?
When my husband and I looked at Maggie, she was staring down, nervously listening to our conversation.
I don't know anything, Gwen. Why are you suddenly saying such things?
I saw it. I saw you doing something to the fish.
What? Mom would never do something like that. You must be mistaken.
Yes, what are you saying?
I recorded a video. Please take a look. I showed them a video I recorded of Maggie in the kitchen putting cigarette ashes into the fish as she prepared it.
What is this? Why would you do such a thing?
My husband questioned Maggie, who kept saying, "I'm sorry," over and over. I questioned Maggie about why she did such a thing, but all she did was apologize. However, there's one more thing. At the time, I actually saw that Maggie was crying while putting the cigarette ashes in the fish. I thought Maggie was a psychopath, but it turns out she isn't. When Maggie was in the kitchen, I heard her say,
Gwen, I'm sorry. I really don't want to do this.
While putting the cigarette ashes in the fish. When I turned up the volume of the video, you could hear her saying she was scared of my husband and couldn't defy him. At first, I couldn't believe it, so I asked my husband why he would give such an order.
What the heck? I told you to handle it properly. What the hell are you doing?
Suddenly, my husband looked like a different person, glaring at Maggie with an expression I had never seen before. Maggie looked pale and frozen. Why? Why did you ask her to do such a thing?
Well, at first I wanted a child too, but then you quit your job because of severe morning sickness. Living on just my salary meant less money for me to spend. If we didn't have a child, we could both work again and I could have more fun.
It seems my husband started living it up while I was hospitalized due to morning sickness. He had been saying he was busy with work, but it was just an excuse, so I wouldn't suspect anything even if he came home late. Until this moment, my husband had always listened seriously to my complaints about Maggie's harassment, taking care of the house, and showed concern for my health. I couldn't believe the man calmly saying these awful things was the same person. Later, I found out from my mother-in-law that my husband's good persona was just a facade. His true nature was only known to those in his family. Wow, people really say that the worse someone is, the better they are at hiding it. It was terrifying that even someone as close to him as me couldn't see through it. We had always kept our finances separate, so I didn't notice at first. but apparently my husband had gotten hooked on nightlife spots a friend had introduced him to while I was in the hospital. He decided he didn't want a child because he wanted to spend money on that instead. Looking back, when I called my husband to tell him I was in labor, it sounded noisy in the background. I was in too much pain to notice at the time, but now I realize he must have been out partying. What kind of person prioritizes partying over the birth of their own child? Later, when I confronted him about what he was doing at the time, he confessed. So there's no doubt about it. It's hard to believe I never noticed before, but my husband was truly awful. Maggie had a reason for following his orders. My husband had treated her horribly, and because of that trauma, Maggie developed a fear of loud male voices. My husband, having grown up watching his father, didn't see anything wrong with angrily commanding and forcing Maggie to obey. He acted like it was normal. He never showed this side in front of me, but it turns out he was quite cruel to Maggie behind my back.
Sorry, but the child was born healthy anyway, so just forgive me, alright?
Gwen, I'm truly sorry. It's all my fault for being so pathetic.
Come on, if you hadn't messed up, none of this would have been found out. What were you doing? You're useless.
I'm sorry, but I really can't take it anymore. I don't want to do this anymore.
What? Are you trying to play the victim? You spilled everything to Gwen, you idiot.
For that, my husband pushed Maggie. Stop it. If you continue, you better get out.
What? Why do you look so scary? You're kidding, right? I already said I'm sorry.
Sorry isn't going to cut it. I can't be with you anymore. I want a divorce.
Don't say that. You'd be lost without me, Gwen.
I'm afraid it's already decided. I'm going to live with our child alone.
What are you talking about?
Just then, the intercom rang, so I quickly went to the door. While my husband and Maggie were arguing, I pretended to check on the baby, but actually called the police, feeling that we were in danger.
What? Why the police?
My husband still didn't seem to grasp the seriousness of what he had done. When he pushed Maggie, she fell hard and injured her hand. After I explained everything to the police, they took him away. Since Maggie was hurt, she was taken to the hospital first, and then to the police station as a victim. My husband was arrested for assault. Maggie, on the other hand, was not arrested because she had been coerced by my husband. Since I had just given birth, I went back to my parents' house to focus on raising my child. Things have finally calmed down now that I've gotten used to taking care of the baby. It's been quite the unexpected turn of events. As soon as my husband was arrested, I filed for divorce, and a restraining order was issued against him to keep him away from me and Maggie. He was also fired from his job without severance pay due to the nature of his arrest. After being released, he struggled to find work because of his criminal record, but eventually found a job that included room and board. Maggie repeatedly apologized to me, both in person and through letters. She seemed genuinely remorseful and regretful. She paid a considerable amount of compensation for the harassment she caused me. It turns out, Maggie was actually very happy about the birth of her first grandchild. Despite being ordered by my husband to harass me, she tried to do it in ways that I could notice and avoid. She could have easily harmed me or the baby by adding alcohol or raw food to my meals, but she never did that. As my husband became more anxious about seeing me healthy, his orders for harassment became more severe. Maggie had even bought a bed to stay over and keep an eye on him to prevent him from harming the baby. Although I initially resented her for buying the bed and leaving it at our place, understanding her true intentions made me realize she was desperately trying to protect me and the baby. My husband, being an only child, means Maggie only has one grandchild. Once my feelings settle, I might consider letting her see the baby. However, the bitterness from my pregnancy and childbirth experiences might never fully dissipate. My ex-husband is working to pay alimony and child support. But he accumulated a lot of debt from his extravagant lifestyle during my pregnancy. So most of his salary goes towards repayments. He's struggling to cover his living expenses and has no money left for leisure. He tried to turn to the woman he had been spending money on, but she only saw him as a client and soon cut off contact. In addition to visiting the clubs, my husband had been buying expensive brand name bags and other costly gifts for that woman, depleting his savings and racking up significant debt. Mutual friends kept me updated on his situation after our separation. He had thought he could just move in with that woman after we split, so he was deeply depressed when that plan fell through. Apparently, none of his friends or acquaintances were willing to help him, and he was completely isolated. Even his own mother couldn't see him due to the restraining order, so he was utterly alone. He used to thrive on socializing and going out with friends, but now he had become a completely different person, quiet and subdued. Of course, with his debts, alimony, and child support payments, he was in no position to enjoy any leisure activities. I hope he continues to struggle. Once someone gets hooked on a hedonistic lifestyle, it's hard to break free. Even if he manages to pay off his debts, there's a chance he'll fall into the same patterns and rack up new ones. Serves him right. Despite everything that happened, I should be able to live comfortably for a while on the alimony and child support. Eventually, I'll need to find a job for my child's sake, but I plan to take it at my own pace and do my best. I'm really glad Gwen was able to be free from her terrible husband. How could anyone be that horrible to your own wife, especially when she was pregnant and also giving birth? I'm also glad Maggie was able to be free from Rudy as well, and I really hope that she finds her happiness as well. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. See you in the next video!